Hello everyone, and welcome to my first ever build order guide. Today we are going to be covering the Japanese fast castle. Now I know that there are quite a few Japanese fast castle guides out there, but the reason that I wanted to make this video is because all of the ones that I've seen, including the ones from some pro players, really don't capitalize on the timing of the Uma Bannerman Night. There were some changes made to Japanese, and so now you can get that night out faster than ever. Most of the other guides that you'll see show that night coming out at about 5:30, 5:45, but it is indeed possible with this optimized build to get that night out right at the 5-minute mark, which is amazing for defending yourself and then doing all of the things that you want to do as Japanese. The Japanese fast castle is an amazing strategy to use for a newer player, a beginner, an intermediate if you haven't learned it already, because the game plan is very simple. You want to get to castle as quickly as possible, you want to gather up all of the relics, and then you want to fight for map control, raid your opponent, and then play into the later game. It's amazing at getting you through the first 10 to 15 minutes of the game and giving you a competitive edge. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into the guide. So when you start the game, what you're going to want to do is first send all of your villagers on sheep, and then you want to immediately send 2 villagers out to build a forge on the stone. Now this is important because the Japanese have a special bonus where when they gather stone, they get 20% of that stone back in gold, and when they gather gold, they get 20% of that gold back in stone. So if you start by gathering stone so that you can get your daimyo manor upgrade, which is what allows you to put out that early night, you will at the same time gather a little bit of extra gold, which helps you get to the feudal age quickly. So you can go ahead and start scouting. Your first villager that comes out will go ahead and come over to the gold. Your second villager that comes out is going to go over to the berries and build a house. And then I like to grab one of my starting sheep and send it over there. This is part of the optimization of the build, just because sheep gather food just slightly faster than berries without any upgrades. After that, you're going to go ahead and rally over to sheep on your town center. So you'll see as of right now, 1 minute and 10 seconds into the game, you have 6 on food, you have 1 on gold, and you have 2 on stone. This is going to be very consistent. You can then go and rally your to sheep until you have 9 on food in total, and then we will be moving over to wood. I will just touch briefly on the scouting pattern that I like to use, which is just kind of taking half of the map like this, doubling back around, dropping off the sheep, and then immediately going on the other side and going to scout my opponent to see what they're doing. Typically, I like to find out now what they're aging up with, whether they've built military buildings, stuff like that. Just get some good scouting information. Now, I know so far this build looks fairly complicated, and I will warn you, it's an advanced build. It is going to take some time to learn. You will have to practice it, but that's okay. Just go ahead and go and run it in bots like I'm doing now until you get comfortable with it. And then once you're comfortable with it, take it out on a ladder and have some fun with it. So now that you've got 9 on food, you're going to go ahead and rally over to wood. I like to choose the wood line that is going to be relatively close together. You're going to end up putting your Kura storehouse up against this wood line here. I do like to gather 2 trees, so rather than going to this one, I figured I'd go here, and then I'll get 3 villagers on this, I'll get 2 here, and then the next villagers will come out here after the Kura storehouse is built. So you're going to try and get 5 villagers on wood. This wood is very important. It's important to get the wood at this timing when you have 9 villagers on food, because you are going to want to build some houses, and immediately after 4 villagers complete this age up of the Kura storehouse, you are then going to have them build a stable so that you can get that night out as fast as possible. And we're going to be able to do that at right about the 5-minute mark, as I mentioned earlier. These wood gatherers are then going to gather enough wood for a couple of houses to get you through until the castle age. And then also, depending on what matchup you're in, you might want to build towers on your gold. Sometimes you build 0. against boom-heavy civilizations like the Chinese. Sometimes you'll build 2, like I do in this matchup, just to showcase how that works for you against the English, just so that they don't come tower your gold or send longbows and harass you off of it. So that determines how much wood you want to gather. Once you've already got your house going up, you want to get about 250 wood from there. So I'm going to build my house now, and then from here I want 1 more house, which is 50, and then 2 towers, which is a total of 250 wood. Then I will completely take my villagers off of wood, and I will move them over to the gold, and I will move them over to sheep. So once you have 5 villagers on wood, then you're going to rally back over to the gold, and the goal is to get 7 villagers on gold, and then you're going to go back to sheep, and then you'll get something like 20 different villagers on sheep. So I like to just make sure that I'm not going to block off any farms. Sometimes when the wood line is closer, I will put the Kura storehouse right up against the town center, so don't worry about the placement of this too much. If you can afford to have it 2 away, then put it there. If you have to put it right up against a town center, that's fantastic as well. Just try not to block the farm spaces with other buildings like houses and things. That's why you move this very first house out here, so that you have the space. So you get the stable up, you want to make sure that you have everything you need to build that knight immediately, and you'll see this knight comes out right at 5 minutes and 3 seconds. It's going to go right to the outside of the gold, and then I like to just have it patrol back and forth, so that if they're English, if they're French, Ayyubids, and they have units running at you to attack your gold line as soon as they get feudal, you have a measure, a tool that you can use to completely push them away. I will touch a little bit. This is, of course, a bot match, so I'm going to get a ton more sheep than I normally would. But it's important to try and get 9 to 10 sheep using this build. Otherwise, what will happen is you will end up needing to take some of these villagers and put them out here on the berries. And at that point, you may have to as well build a tower in order to defend this so that you can secure all of your food. So if you get 9 to 10, you're good. If you get less than that, just know you may have to plan on coming out to berries a little bit and just be prepared to defend yourself. So in the English matchup specific, I like to put down 2 towers. It's a good idea to have 2 towers either way, just because no matter what happens now, I'm going to be able to secure quite a bit of the gold. But you don't always need 2 towers, and it's a good idea to defend with as little as possible, but you need to make sure that you secure this gold so that you can make it to castle. So you'll notice the way that the towers are placed. I stagger them a little bit so they're not perfectly in line with each other. This makes it so that civilizations like English with the longbows cannot come and set up a tower like right out here that'll push you off. You'll always have a side that you can gather gold on, and then as well, they can't attack you from one side or the other. So if you have 1 tower here, then they can come over here and harass you from this angle, or if you just have this one, they can harass you from this angle. But the 2 towers that are staggered like this completely prevent that. So you'll see here, I got my 250 wood, I have my outposts up, and I have my enough houses where I'm going to be able to make it to castle now. So I am just going to go ahead and get as much food as I possibly can. What I like to do during this time period now is rally my town center out to the sheep and then over to the farms as they come up, the free farms that come from the Kura storehouse. And then I like to take my villagers like this and grab 9 of them. I can shift click another one if I need it, so that I have 10. And I like to use 9 or 10 villagers on my age up. So as soon as I have enough food, I will go ahead and drop off, send my villagers over to build the floating gate. In this game, I put it right here. You always want to put it somewhere that it's close enough to your TC that you are able to build it, because sometimes if they're building an army, if they're trying to all-in you, they have rams or something like that, it may be very difficult for you to build it far away from your base, even though this building is not optimally placed close to your base. You sometimes, or most of the time, have to do it that way, just in order to make sure that the age up happens. So once this goes up, I like to take all of these villagers and send them back over to wood, because then you're going to need to gather wood for some more houses. And then even though the floating gate it does produce monks, it can't actually hold relics. And the whole point of this build is to gather all the relics and start getting that gold income. And so you will need to get 200 wood just to build the building that can hold the relics. So send these guys over to wood after they're done. Once they're back over there, you can go ahead and rally to gold so you can get more gold in. And from here on out, the second this age up happens, you want to send the monk first over to the stable and then queue it to go start picking up the relics immediately. And I actually rally my knight over to the first relic that I want to take. That's just my common practice. I recommend that you do the same as well. The Yorishiro that the monk is holding when he first comes out has some really cool special bonuses. If you put it in the stable, it makes it produce 2.5 times faster. So this is now worth 2.5 stables. So you'll see these knights start producing very fast, which is fantastic because at this stage in the game, at right around 9 minutes when it goes up, you're going to be able to pump out an army that is very difficult to deal with. Your knights have a special shield block ability where they block the first attack, which means that they can even fight spears sometimes. If they don't have a huge mass of them and you have a decent amount of knights, you can just run all of the units that they see over. So from here, once again, go ahead and collect the relic. I like to press E to drop it on the ground because I don't have the building yet, and then head straight for the next one. You'll see I'm then sending my knights over to make sure that I get that one as well. And then the floating gate next will go into the town center, is where I like to put it. Makes you produce villagers faster, but a lot of people like to just go straight for the forges. There, it basically is a full relic where it produces gold. It's a little bit less than a normal relic's worth of gold, but it's gold nonetheless, so it's a fantastic place to put it. So you can choose either. I like to do stable, then town center, and then forges with my Yorishiros. And then from that point out, the goal, now that we are in castle, is simply to mass as many knights as we can get, and then grab as many relics as we can get. Usually you're shooting to get 4 or 5 if possible. Rarely ever do I get 5 though. I think typically I usually end up getting about 3 or 4. And then from there, the game plan becomes very simple. Take control of the map, use your knights, run them all over the place, fight the enemy army, just make sure you're not throwing them away needlessly, go raid the opponent's base, wall everything off, make sure that everything's safe. What's really cool about this bonus from the Japanese, as you're gathering gold, you will gather stone. So you'll see here, it's only 11 minutes into the game, and I already have 330 stone. So within the next minute or so, I'm actually going to be able to put up a second town center without ever having to go purposefully gather stone at that point. So you get your second town center up, you start a farm transition, you get farms all over the place, and then you just have a very, very clean, very simple game. It's very fun to play. I recommend you practice it, go try it out, see how you like it. Let me know if you have any comments or questions for me down in the comment section. If I made anything confusing, I'd be happy to clarify. I look forward to the next one. See you guys in the next video. Thank you.